My first attempt at writing about this subject involved discussing people on YouTube who were pursuing an ambiguous algorithm and then attempting to distance them from MGTOW. As a result of YouTube's efforts to remove advertisements, I had another plan in mind, but I ultimately decided to abandon it in favor of one that is more fundamental, straightforward, and easy to understand. Reason that applies to all betrayers, regardless of whether they are content creators or not, and that is blinders. A large portion of men are able to spout off acronyms and explain female nature. However, as soon as they encounter a woman who has learned to hide the destructive parts of her nature or says what he wants to hear, they become blind. He unravels and begins to call into question everything that has been said to him and information that he has taken in. He discards wisdom and reason in favor of adhering to his biological instincts, which ultimately works to his detriment. Try to disprove the idea that every woman is like a Walt or that all women are the same way. I truly believe that this is the test to determine whether or not you understand and accept the nature of females. You should take some time to think about Walt's idea and determine where you stand on it. If you can find a way to argue that not all women could possibly be guided by their biological instincts, and that some women are capable of overcoming these instincts, then you should explain why this is the case. I'm not sure, but if you believe that, then you put yourself in danger of being forced back into slavery by the men who challenge AWOL and try to paint the concept with a brush of misogyny, claiming that people who believe it are biased against women. Believe that all women are evil and will spread their legs for any alpha male who plays the game. I've never said that, and my experiences don't reflect it because the woman I'm dating now was a virgin, as was the girl I dated before her. There are still some good girls in the world who came from stable households and had an upbringing with traditional values, but this has nothing to do with calling into question an AWOL because their nature is universal. Those good girls are still guided by their biological instincts just as much as They can echo the sentiments of men who have understood female nature, but as soon as they are placed in the real world where they must apply what they have learned, they have become the average woman because these men have failed to internalize female nature. That has become the average woman. They are unsuccessful, and as a result, they revert back to the behaviors that brought them to the community in the first place. One part of me wonders if they were not ready or if they still had more to learn, but another part of me wonders if they were not ready or if they still had more to learn. I am conflicted in my ideas as to why they fail to understand and apply the concepts they claim association with. If they ever would have been ready, man was made to be a slave. He is a slave to his biological desires, to his morals and principles, and to his urge for progeny. Freedom from these things is only meant for a select few, and those select few typically keep it to themselves. Because of the way society is currently structured, MGTOW is able to function to the extent that it does today. If society were in a different state, I believe that at least 80% of the men living in the community would disassociate themselves as well. MGTOW has become a safe haven for men who have lost their way in life. If those lost men came across a vessel that provided a glimpse at the old purpose of man and a woman who appeared to be decent, then those men would, of course, pursue it with all their might. To be honest, I don't blame them. Confronting these harsh realities is analogous to comprehending nihilism, which is a topic I will cover in a later post, and nihilism frequently leaves people feeling powerless, hopeless, and meaningless, making it difficult to find the true power that lies in these concepts. If a man is to avoid falling into the abyss, he must demolish everything that has ever existed before him, but he must never settle with that. It is necessary for him to rebuild himself and refocus his efforts, but the amount of work required to do so is so great that the vast majority of these lost men believe it is impossible. It is much simpler to keep bashing their heads against the same wall until it becomes so bloodied that they believe the color of the wall has changed to match the color of their blood and call that a victory. Because the true brotherhood of man is not something that should be taken lightly, a betrayal of the community of men is an offense that is serious enough to warrant severe punishment. In these trying times, each of these traitors will have to face their own nature, which is something they will have to do until the very end of their lives. I can only hope that weaker men will look to these betrayers and reflect upon their own standing, truly examine their own weakness, and take it as an opportunity to strengthen their resolve. I also hope that they will not give in to their fears and fall back into the old behavior patterns, because make no mistake, accepting that a wall changes you is something to fear. When I first realized how women operate, it had an effect on my libido, and I was unable to separate myself from the hatred that consumed my thoughts. However, I made a conscious decision to separate that hatred from my thoughts, and once it was isolated, it gradually faded away. I will never be able to look at women in the same way again. What was left was an acceptance of the fact that female nature has remained unchanged throughout history. Even though we live in a time that promotes and encourages the worst aspects of human nature to manifest themselves, at least those aspects are in plain sight. Now, rather than being hidden from view until it was too late, it is something that should be examined, understood, and accepted because it is as natural as the rising sun and the changing tides. Previously, it was something to be hated, but now it is something that should be examined, understood, and accepted.